Alright, part 2 of the Star Destroyer build, the 29-inch resin kit. I made some progress. Been busy drilling holes and running fiber. So I have a lot of the parts done. What I did is I did it in sections. I have three major sections left to do. So this is the part of the superstructure. So you can see how many fibers I'm running in each piece. I'm kind of guessing as far as how many lights I'm going to need. I could always add them later when I light it up. I'm hoping it's not too much. There's a major section. A lot of fiber in there. It's another superstructure piece. So I sectioned all these off. This one you could see I put in some glue to hold the fiber. What I've been doing is, there's another section, the top wing. What I've been doing to hold the fiber, and this is my method, I don't know what other people do. If you drill the hole and you run the fiber, you can't, it's very difficult to run all of these at one time and then hold them in place while you're working, while you're going around this piece and putting fiber in there. So I'm cutting the sections in about, I guess it's about 12 inches, maybe a little more, and I'm making them all as even as possible in length, and I run them, I trim these down a little bit, but they were sticking out. So to hold them in place, I'll do maybe a section of it, and then I want to seal those in where they are, not necessarily permanently, but while I'm working. This stuff I found is great. It's called Bondic. I got this stuff at Ace Hardware. You can buy it online, and it's not glue. It's actually, I think it's actually resin. I know this one is resin. I just got this stuff at Lowe's because I didn't get a chance to get back to Ace Hardware to get more of this Bondic, but I'm going to try this stuff. It's called FiberFix. This is actually resin too. It's light cured. So you use the applicator to put a drop of glue right behind the fiber where the hole is, and I maybe put a little bit of it, a little more than a drop for each one, and then you let the stuff dripping out. It's like gold. Then it comes with a light, and you turn on the light and you shine it on the glue just for, like, I think they say like 5 seconds, and it cures it. And you can't pull the, I mean, it's not, it will pull out if you pull the fiber hard enough. I've had a couple pieces come out. It's not a once and done type situation where I would just leave it like that and put the model together. I would reinforce it later. So on this piece I haven't glued it yet, but I'm going to go back. And I use this stuff sometimes. You can use Elmer's glue to hold the fiber. This is called Go-To glue. This is by Loctite. The problem is, I've found that if you put this stuff on, it's always in a weird spot. And if you put the glue on here, it's going to run. So I don't care how thick it is, it always runs. This stuff, it'll run to the lowest area. So I tried to tilt this so the glue sat over. Now that's pretty good, but most of the glue is sitting on the bottom of this channel. And this is pretty thick stuff. I've tried this, I've tried Elmer's glue. I've wasted more money on glue. I've tried Elmer's, I've tried this stuff. Rapid Fuse bonds virtually everything. That stuff kind of runs as well. Don't use this. I've tried this. This is contact cement. This actually ruined the fiber. This melted it. I don't know whether it's that particular mixture or you can use other cons that will work. I don't even know what's in this. I have to look. I don't know what chemical is in this stuff, but it ruined some fiber on a test. I've used this stuff. This is tacky glue. This is like Elmer's, but it's a little thicker. I got this at Michael's. Super cheap, but it ran too. And I've tried this stuff. This stuff, do not use this stuff, this particular mixture, because it expands. And it doesn't say anywhere on here. This is Gorilla Glue, original Gorilla Glue. It says bonds virtually anything. I thought this stuff would be perfect, but I tried this on another model, and what it did was it expanded and came out of the holes, like sort of like that spray foam you can buy. I don't know what the hell is going on with this stuff, but I wouldn't use it for fiber. I wouldn't use it for any model stuff because it expands, and I've almost ruined parts with that stuff. So a couple other things. I haven't figured out how I'm going to light the bottom bay. I've been watching video on the movies, and it's lit differently in different movies. Sometimes it's a lot brighter than others. In the original Star Wars, it's not lit very much, and the light is coming from, it looks like the light's coming from one side and lighting up the bay from the one side. I think it's from the front side. And the remake, or not the remake, the reissue of Star Wars, I think from 1997, it's much brighter, and it looks like these side windows are all lit up. So I want this thing nice and bright. So I haven't figured out how I'm going to do it yet. I might drill a bunch of holes and then light it from the inside with LED tape. I'm not really sure yet. I have to experiment with this and figure it out. And the engines, I've been looking ahead at the engines, and these were definitely not made for lighting. This is one of the 3 main engines that go on the back, and the inside, you can see there's some detail in there, and they were nice enough to put a back section on here, but that's a pretty big it's a pretty big engine, and I think a 5mm LED is going to be too small, so I ordered some 10mm white LEDs that I'm going to try out. I don't have any 10mm, so looks like 5mm would work, but I want it nice and bright, so I ordered a 10. And I think what I'm going to have to do here is I'm going to have to lose this detail in here, because I don't know of any way to cut that out, and I'd like to clear cast it and put it back in, but I don't think that's going to be possible. So I'm going to have to, I don't even know if this is solid or hollow. So I'm going to have to drill a hole in the back and figure out, I'm going to have to go all the way through here and then figure out the best way to light this engine. Because there's 3 of those, and then there's I think there's 4 smaller engines. I can't remember what they're called, but there's smaller engines. I've been working on this bottom section, and I got this seam. It looks okay. I'm still working on it. I'm not 100% satisfied with it, and there's still some. It's still uneven in certain parts. Even though I lined up the part, there was a gap in here, and I think there's supposed to be a panel line there, but it still doesn't look right. So I've been working on this off and on. I've been filling it in, sanding it, painting it, just to see. This is primer that's on here now. This is gray primer. And what I've been using for all these parts that you see that are gray have been primed. So my plan, this stuff is fantastic. I've seen other guys use it. It's called Steinel Res. This is primer that I just found on Amazon, and it's a little expensive, but it retains all the detail and it goes on really, really evenly, so it's nice to spray. I haven't been able to use this out of the bottle in the airbrush. Some guys can, but I had to thin mine a little bit with Windex. This is the white, so I'm gonna paint the ship gray. All of the parts have been primed except for one of the wings, and I'm still working on these side pieces. I'm still priming these because it's really hard to paint these because there's so much detail on the part that when you spray it, it's hard to get into all the little crevices, so it takes at least 2 or 3 tries to get all of this covered. So I'm going to paint all of these first. I haven't even drilled the holes in these yet. I'm saving this is going to be the biggest pain in the neck because of the way these parts have to sit. Anyway, my plan is to paint the entire ship gray, fill in all my light leaks, make everything look nice, all the seams are filled in, everything's looking perfect, and then I'm going to paint it with white. The ship is actually white, but it's not glaring white. And what will happen is if I do this right, when I spray paint or airbrush over the gray, I won't have to go back and fill in any of the panel lines with wash, because it should bring out all of those panel lines and all these details and shadows and everything else. So if I don't drench the entire surface with white, I think it's going to look really good. And this isn't really a bright white primer. It's white, but it's more of a it's got maybe a little tint of gray in it. It's not ivory white. It's not off white. It's sort of a grayish white, which should be perfect. So that's my plan for the painting. I haven't figured out. I think it'll fit in my paint booth. It's a big ship, but I'm going to do it section by section, and I'll figure out how I'm going to paint the whole thing when it's all put together. So the hardest part for the fiber is going to be the side walls. So as you can see, there's a ridge here, and it's pretty nice the way they design this thing. This is the right one. This isn't. Yeah, I think this is it. So this section is going to go in. There's two sections per side of the ship. There's one that goes here and one that goes here. I have to drill holes for the fiber through that section, which is probably at least a 1/4 inch, if not thicker, and then go through this wall as well, so I can run the fiber. So I'm going to have to mount this piece first, or at least dry fit it and clamp it, drill the holes, run the fiber, and go through both the piece itself and the back wall to get the fiber all the way through. That's not going to be easy, but I'll have to figure out how I'm going to do it. So when I put the top piece on, so I'm going to obviously have to run the fiber before I put the top piece on and seal the whole ship up. But the top part has these walls as well, and I can't leave those on, because if I put the top piece on, the walls are going to crimp the fiber, and the model's not going to go together right. So I'm going to have to actually remove these walls from the top part of the ship altogether. They're going to have to be gone. So I'm going to have to cut them all off. It's going to be messy, but that's the way it has to go. So I'm making progress, and I have to finish this seam, because this is going to bother me if it's not perfect. It's looking a lot better than it originally did, but it still needs a little bit of work. So that's what I've been doing. So I'll come back when I get all of the fiber when I'll get all the fiber done, and I'll do a light test and kind of see how some of this fiber is looking, and if I need to add more, or you know, figure out if I miss some spots, if there's some lights that should be that aren't there. And I might also start working on the rear section and figuring out how I'm going to light the engines, because that's going to have to get done before I can proceed. So maybe I'll do the engines next. After I'm going to probably run the rest of the fiber, and then do the engines and see if I can get those to look really good. And by that time, my LEDs might be here. So I'm hoping that I can test out these 10mm LEDs and get this back engines nice and bright. So we'll see how it goes. I'll be back, and I'll show you more progress when I get there. See you for now.